Welcome to the Lawyerist podcast, a series of discussions with entrepreneurs and innovators about building a successful law practice in today's challenging and constantly changing legal market. Lawyerist supports attorneys building client-centered and future-oriented small law firms through community, content, and coaching, both online and through the Lawyerist Lab. And now, from the team that brought you the Small Firm Roadmap and your podcast hosts.
Hey everyone, it's Stephanie, and this is episode 505 of the Lawyerist podcast, part of the Legal Talk Network. Today, I have two special guests with me talking about something I know so many lawyers out there are struggling with, how to effectively use a virtual assistant and finally get yourself out of your inbox. So take a listen as I'm joined by Robyn and Raquel talking about using a VA effectively.
I'm Robyn Christo, and I have a small law firm in California that is called Epstein Holtz Apple Christo, or EHC Law. It's much shorter. I'm trying to get Courtney, who answers our phones, to say EHC Law.
Yes.
I have a team of 11, and we handle trust and estate litigation. So just disputes that involve decedents' estates and trusts and conservatorships and anything surrounding that.
And Raquel, you've been on the show before, but just, maybe remind everybody who you are and what you work on.
All right. So I'm Raquel Gomes, founder and CEO of Stafi. And at Stafi, we provide highly qualified, top-notch virtual assistants to law firms with the support to alleviate law firm owners from onboarding, co-management, and continuous training of their virtual assistants.
Yeah, nice. So, Robyn, what were some of the challenges you were facing and thinking about when you first decided maybe to go with a virtual assistant?
There were so many, I don't even know where to begin, but I became a Labster last year, right before LabCon, like a week before. And I went to LabCon and I met you and all the other folks there and decided, okay, this is it. I got to get my stuff together. So I remember coming home and I had a session with you. And I remember exactly where I was sitting outside and you were like, well, it sounds like you could really use a virtual assistant. Have you ever thought about that? And I said, I don't even know where to begin, how I would delegate anything. I'm so overwhelmed, like I can't even think about it. So mostly drowning in emails, trying to keep up with scheduling, and just always feeling like I was behind the eight ball, trying to keep up with everything that was coming at me every day. So you had mentioned Stafi because I believe you were just hiring a virtual assistant through them.
Yeah, sounds about right. And, from your perspective, did you have any concerns or reservations? Like when you were going into the process, were you nervous about how you might use a virtual assistant and make this relationship work?
Yeah, I mean, definitely had reservations about having somebody who was totally virtual that I would never meet in person. We have a small law firm and it's a small business. It's like a family business. I mean, everybody who works here has been here for a long time, except for the new people. And I really try to create an environment that is, we're a small team and more like family. And so that was one reservation I had. How am I going to integrate this person into our team without having them physically here? And how am I going to build a relationship with them, having them completely virtual? And then also just not really even knowing where to begin as far as what to outsource to them.
Yeah. And I suspect a lot of people also are like, how do I even manage this person when they're not in front of me? Like we think we know how to manage people, and probably because we're in front of them, we think it's easier. But I imagine it feels, at least in the beginning, like it's going to be harder when someone is pretty far away.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to talk to this person every day and explain what's going on and what my needs are, and how are they going to be able to anticipate my needs when we're not in the same place? So definitely I had I wouldn't say a lot of reservations, but I was skeptical, I would say, because the experiences, I'd never had an experience, but I did know people who had virtual assistants, and some of them had good things to say and some of them had not so good things to say. So what pushed me over the edge was when you were like, we're hiring somebody from Stafi. So I went, okay, if Stephanie's doing it, then I'll do it too.
Nice. Raquel, from your perspective, though, I mean, you were shaking your head as Robyn was answering, and I'm sure you hear these kinds of things from lawyers all the time. And, are there other concerns that people might be thinking about?
Yeah, I think they think about the security aspect of having someone virtually, as if they had someone in the office is easier to control, when in reality, it's not really, right? That's something that comes up. I think a lot of people that in general need to hire someone and need to desperately start delegating, but they delay is because they say, I have no time to onboard this person. I don't have the proper tools either. I don't have time to train this person. And I think, Robyn, when we spoke the other day, you mentioned that this was a big hurdle to you too. Like, how am I going to train? I don't have the time. I'm overwhelmed as it is.
Right.
Bringing someone else, even though the idea of having someone else after they are with you for the first month and a half or so and they've been truly onboarded sounds very appealing. But the thought that, oh my God, and how do I onboard and how do I train? And you mentioned that. And I think it's something really important to bring up. Like, I think it's good for other listeners that might be going through, burnout or overly stressed or not having enough hours in a day, and they need someone desperately, but they're holding off because they don't even know where to start. And I think it's good to talk about your experience with us from that perspective. That I think that could be something helpful.
Yeah, definitely. You and I talked about this recently too, how that is, I mean, you just described it to a T. I didn't know where to begin. And the thought of having to figure this part out alongside of figuring out all the things that go with running a small law firm was totally overwhelming. And I just, held my breath and jumped into the deep end. And I was really impressed with the Stafi team. Like, even from the first interaction I had, the first meeting, it was just kind of a get to know you meeting to see, I could learn more about your services, see what you guys offered. And I was just really impressed by the way you come about it, because right from the start, it was like they really wanted to get to know me and my business. And they were able to tell me how they could support me. And I didn't have to articulate to them every single thing I thought I needed help with, that was what was overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
So they put together this presentation, which of course you know about, but I thought it was really great because it said, okay, these are all the different areas in which a virtual assistant can help you. And they asked me a bunch of questions. They interviewed me, what do you need help with? And then they helped me narrow down the list. Like, you need an executive assistant. That's where you start. This person can help you get more organized. As a person who I consider myself to be really organized, but as life has gotten busier and I become a managing partner of a law firm and I have 3 kids and a husband and all the things, I knew I needed somebody kind of like by my side, helping me with all of the stuff that I used to do myself. So they were really helpful in just narrowing that down and laser focusing me on, okay, this is your first hire. And I didn't expect it. And so that was a good bonus.
Yeah, and I love that. What you're describing is the first consultation that we run, which is 1 hour long, that we go through the 4 different areas of work within the law firm, which are marketing, client-facing, administrative, and legal work. And we have built a proprietary software where we pull up lists of every task that falls into each one of the areas. And you're right, a lot of lawyers come to us and say, I need a paralegal, but in reality, that's not exactly what they need. They need someone that is more of an intake, more client-facing. And why is it that that's so important? Because not only based on that, we're going to find the right match from a background and experience perspective, but also soft skills, personality is so important. We like to say that, come on in, have a consultation, have a free consultation. It doesn't matter if you're going to work with Stafi or not, but we love to help you define in your mind who your next hire should be, from personality, background, degree, all of that. And I remember that one of the things when you came to us was, oh, I need this person to have experience working for a law firm. And you had this conversation with the team, and the team was like, no, what you need is an executive assistant. This person doesn't have to have an experience working for a law firm. We've been doing this for 10 years, and you trusted us. And here you are, like you're happy, so I love that. And that is not uncommon. It happens very often.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was interesting because right away it was like I had the 1 hour meeting, and I want to say the next day I had resumes to look at. And then the day after, or a couple of days after, I had interviews. And Claudia, who we ended up hiring, had no legal background, but I really liked her. And I think her background was in like the aerospace industry, and she worked for airlines. But they were very reassuring. And they said, she has transferable skills. She's very smart. And that's what I got from my interview with her too. And so they were absolutely right that I didn't need somebody for this position that had experience in a law firm. And the great thing is that she's, with all of the support that Stafi provides, like she came to me already knowing our practice management software. So that was great, because if I had to train her or say, okay, go find this video or that video, or had to pull away one of my other staff people to train her, that would have been tough and a stress on the firm. And instead, you guys made it really easy. It was like, oh, okay, she already knows this.
Yeah. So tell us some of the things initially, and if it's evolved, we'd love to hear that too. But what kind of task and work have you been able to give Claudia and that done for you?
The first thing I said to her was, I need to get to inbox 0. And she's like, okay, great, we can do that. She asked me questions like, is there a way you want to do it? Is there a way you like to manage your email? And there was when I was doing it, but I just said to her, you figure it out. Like, you tell me what to do. And that's really what I needed, was somebody to just come in and say, this is how we're going to do it. And when there's something in this inbox, that's for you to look at. And when, we came up with a whole system, actually, she came up with the system and trained me on it, which was so great. And so that was the first thing. And then she came in and started doing scheduling. So any appointment that I have that isn't, set by like a court deadline or something like that, that goes to our docketing team, Claudia schedules. So even I remember I was trying to schedule with Raquel to get together with her and talk about this podcast. And I was like, oh, talk to Claudia. She's doing all my scheduling. And then when I talk to the Stafi group every month, usually they say, okay, let's schedule something new. And I'm like, reach out to Claudia, because she has my schedule and she can do it for me. So that was
Isn't
huge.
that a great feeling?
Yes.
Wow.
Very, very. And having her be able to kind of look ahead and say, so next week you have like 3 things scheduled at the same time. So we're going to move some of that stuff around, which is very, very helpful. And then also just coordinating scheduling when I've got, meetings with multiple clients or multiple attorneys on a case. I don't have to take the time to track everybody's schedule anymore, which is huge. So that's a major time saver and allows me to focus on other things like managing the firm or client work. And that's really what I need to be doing. The other thing that she's doing is she's providing support to my firm administrator. So every Tuesday, we have a morning huddle. We go through our calendar and docket items for the next 4 weeks, like on a rolling basis. And so one of the pain points for my firm administrator was putting together the calendar to go through. And, we have a docketing system, we have a calendaring system, but it was like pulling out the things that we needed to talk about. And so here comes Claudia and just, jumps right in. And now she does that and eliminated that pain point for my firm administrator, which is huge. And then she does a lot of like special projects for me. For example, I sent her a message this morning and I said, I need you to tell me all of the referrals that have come to me from my networking group this year. Can you do that for me this week? And she's like, yep, I'm on it. So she's going to provide me with a list. And then she's done a lot of other stuff like that too.
Yeah.
She does all our data entry now. So maintaining contacts for cases. Some of our cases have dozens and dozens and maybe even hundreds of contacts because we put all the witnesses and everybody in there. And she's the one that's in charge of that, which is also really helpful.
Yeah. So as you know, I think I did a session on this at LabCon when you were there. I've been a big advocate that lawyers don't need to manage their inbox for a really long time. And I'm always preaching this to everybody. And the initial response is, but I have to be the one, I have to be in my inbox. And so you've made the transition now. You've survived. You're still here. You're still practicing law. Your clients
I
are,
am.
happy. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe people would like to hear from you. Like, was that a hard transition? Has it made life better? Like, obviously, yes, but I like them to hear it from you.
Yeah, it was a really hard transition, especially from, a type A litigator who was used to doing it all herself. And, after a couple sessions with my therapist, I got past that. No, I'm joking, but I'm actually not, because I definitely,
I love
it
that.
is a
It's
transition.
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's really hard. And, giving up control. But once I did it, I realized I wasn't actually giving up control. I was like getting back time in my day
Yes.
and being able to rely on Claudia to go through my inbox, get rid of junk mail, weed out things that she can handle on her own, has been totally invaluable and bought me back a ton of time in my day.
Yeah, and I feel like when you say it's not giving out control, it's taking back control of my life, right? That's how it feels, because you have more control over your calendar, of your hours in the day. What you're going to do is not that you have to be, because if you miss an important email, that's something's going to happen to your business. So you have someone doing that. And one thing I wanted to mention is that we do have that as part of the training. And when we go over that first session, the free consultation, and we click on the things that you want to delegate, those are the things we ensure that the person that we provide to you as a possible match, they have been trained on those things specifically as well. So you mentioned, she knew how to do it. So it's part of the training that we provide, the calendar management, the inbox, and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the training, one other thing about training that just popped into my head was that we have a CRM that we use to manage our intake and screening of new clients. And Claudia didn't know how to use it. And Stafi didn't have at the ready a training about it. So
Now we do.
now you do. They went into their ranks and found a paralegal that used the same program, and they created a training for her. And so now she knows how to use our CRM, which is great. So that's another thing that's really helpful, I think, Raquel, about Stafi, is that it's not set in stone, and it's like a moving, breathing thing. And so anytime something pops up and it's like, oh, we need Claudia to learn about this or that, you guys figure it out. And like one example too is that you guys don't really have a trust and estate training. Like I think in your family law training module, you have like a few things about estates, but there isn't much. And so one thing that I've been doing, because even though Claudia is not doing substantive work for me, she's still exposed to the lingo and understandably has a lot of questions, because trust and estates is kind of like learning a different language. I mean, it was for me at least. And so she and I spend a lot of time when I'm meeting with her in the mornings. We do a call most mornings, and she'll ask questions, and then I give her, a little primer on that particular area. So, for example, I think she was confused about like, what exactly is a trustee and a fiduciary? Is that the same thing? So we talked through it. And so now I'm talking to Raquel about, recording some of those and making them available, because I think trust and estates and litigation especially is an area where people could really use support.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you mentioned that you wanted her to learn about Cleo Growth, I believe it was back then, right?
Right.
So we have all of the coaches that are assigned to the virtual assistants to help support them with ongoing training, make sure they're supported throughout the onboarding process, and help with co-management. So we have 2 senior paralegals that they serve as escalation point, and one of them was the one who provided the training on Cleo Growth. And the reason why I have this implemented is because I know how hard it is when you own a business, how hard it is sometimes to have the time to be the CEO, to step into the role of a CEO, to be able to strategize, to have time to do creative work. It's so hard. And when you are so busy, it's simply impossible. You won't come up with good ideas. And I know how lonely it can be too, to be a business owner, and I'm talking from being a woman, and some of us have a business partner. We're lucky to have a business partner, but some people don't. It can be very lonely. So all of the support that we have, the coaches, the psychologists that we have, the mindset coaches, where the virtual assistants, they have regular check-ins to make sure that they are doing well emotionally, mentally. I'm a psychologist myself, and I know how important it is for us to be aligned. We're all one, body, mind, emotions. And that's priority to me. So it's very directly correlated with performance, but also being happy at work and where you are. So you actually stay there, because how miserable it is for you to have a VA that is not happy. And you know how busy it is for business owners to sometimes even say, how are you? How is your mom? How is your boyfriend? Many times we mean really well, but we don't have the time. So we provide that support to small business owners. They will feel that they're supported, you know? So I find that very important.
Yeah, that was another thing that really impressed me about Stafi was the shared value of mental health. I mean, one of the things that we talked about in that first meeting, and you just mentioned, was that you have mental health support for your Stafi. Strike that.
Representatives.
For your representatives. For your staffies. You should call them staffies, Raquel. I think I like that better.
Yeah, we do. Staff. Okay. Yeah.
For your representatives. And I was really impressed by that because, you know, like I said, I have a small firm. I care about everybody in here, my employees, my clients, and prioritizing mental health is really important to me personally too. And so to know that you guys offer that, I think it's a real anomaly in staffing agencies. I mean, usually it's like, oh, you need somebody? Okay, let me, pick a name out of a pile of resumes and send them to your office and then never talk to them again. So I love all of the support that you guys offer both me and Claudia when it comes to, making sure that the lines of communication are open and even, with related to personal stuff. If somebody's going through something, I know that you provide support to them as well. So that's great and really impressive.
Yeah, I love that too. And before, Robyn, you were mentioning that you were worried at the beginning, like, how do you integrate this remote person into the team and into the culture, knowing this is so important to you? And it is a small business and everybody feels close to one another. I'm just curious how that has gone with Claudia. And do you have any tips or advice to people who might be listening of how to go about that process?
Yeah, absolutely. I've kind of done it organically and slowly. So at first, it was just Claudia was dealing directly with me, getting my inbox under control and all of that. And then slowly, I started having her give some support to our firm administrator. And then now she's in touch with pretty much everybody in the firm, not providing direct support, but, for example, there'll be a bar event or, reminder like, hey, we just changed our phone numbers. Everybody needs to update them. So she's emailing everybody, reminding them to update their phone numbers with the state bar or inviting them to the elder abuse symposium that's coming up or a lifetime achievement thing that's being put on by the state bar. Or the local bar. And I don't know in the future if Claudia will start providing executive assistant support to more than just me, but definitely everybody in the firm knows that she's there and can reach out to her if they have a question or if they need support with something administrative and our legal assistant that's here in office isn't available to help.
Yeah. And there's even little things you can do, like with us, with Alexa, who's our VA from Stafi, we have a Teams chat going. And if we post like in team wins, she's always the first one in there doing an emoji, like, way to go. That's awesome. She's kind of become our team cheerleader, if you will, because she's very bright and cheerful. And she always has kind things to say to everyone. And because we're in a little bit of a different spot because we're all virtual. So we don't have a physical office, but we're able to include her in like our virtual team lunches and meetings and things. So, there's lots of ways you can be creative and make sure that your team knows this person and they feel like they know you too. So I wouldn't let that be a reason that people don't explore this kind of help if they're thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now everybody, well, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people, the people in my circle at least, are definitely more accustomed to working virtually. And so it's not totally weird, right? Whereas maybe like 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh, I don't think so. That's not going to work out for me. But now, once I got past that initial like concern about, oh my God, what is this going to look like? It's really no different than having somebody here in the office.
Yeah. Awesome. Raquel, any kind of words of wisdom for you or last thoughts for people who might be hesitant and thinking about this and wondering if it would work for them?
Well, that We are with you along the way throughout the entire journey. We not only make sure that the candidate is highly qualified, we have a very strict vetting and screening process that they have to go through. The ones that make it through the final cut, they go through in-house training. But also, once we assign a virtual assistant to you, we are with you and holding you throughout the entire process. And I love to hear the value that you perceive from this relationship, Robyn, is really music to my ears, because it just confirms to me that, what I've put in place, it's very valuable for the small law firm owner. And we love working with you and helping you grow and scale your firm, but doing it from a place of balance, not having to sacrifice your life in the name of success. That's my passion.
Exactly. My family is a lot happier now. Let's just say that.
I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, obviously, two happy Stafi clients here. Raquel, we're always excited to talk to you. And we'll make sure in the show notes to this that if anyone's interested in learning more about how maybe someone from Stafi can help them, we'll put the link in there. Also, we've got a fun discount code if you mention Lawyerist. Do you have the URL for us maybe handy?
I do not, but it doesn't matter. If they go to our website, www.stafi.cc, you schedule a call or you say that you want to talk to us and you put the code Lawyerist, and you're going to have $500 off.
Nice. There you go. Well, see, you get rewarded for being a Lawyerist listener. So thanks for that. Thanks, Robyn, for coming in and sharing your story. I know it really helps because lawyers, we always tell them, but they like hearing it from you. So I appreciate you being on with me today to tell your story and your experience.
Thank you so much, Robyn.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always listening to the Lawyers podcast and wanting to hear from the lawyers about the various things that you guys suggest. So happy to help.
Thank you.
The Lawyerist podcast is edited by Brittany Felix. Are you ready to implement the ideas we discussed here into your practice? Wondering what to do next? Here are your first steps. First, if you haven't read the Small Firm Roadmap yet, grab the initial chapter for free at Lawyerist.com/book. Looking for help beyond the book? Let's chat about whether our coaching communities are right for you. Head to Lawyerist.com/community/lab for more information. The views expressed by the participants are their own and are not endorsed by Legal Talk Network. Nothing said in this podcast is legal advice for you.